Hey Star Wars fans!
Hello there.
Today I want to do something a little bit different. I wanted to do my top 5 hitting moments from Star Wars across both the series and the movies. And I'm not talking about like the iconic moments that everyone knows about, like I am your father,
I am your father.
or getting frozen in carbonite, or Obi-Wan's message to Leia, or Leia's message to Obi-Wan even.
I seem to have found it.
None of that. I'm talking about the stuff that hits really, really hard. Because there's some big moments out there across like the lore and everything else. So get started. Number 5, Kanan's in Rebels. During trying to save Hera, what a moment. So just to give some backstory to this, why I think this one hits even harder is Kanan loses his eyesight during a battle with Maul earlier on in the series. So when they then go and try and save Hera, and the fuel pods that they're escaping from get shot, and there's a huge explosion. So Kanan steps forward, uses his force power to hold the fire back, and then hold the team back from coming to try and save him. In his final moments, he uses his force power to bring his eyesight back, so he can see Hera for one last time before he dies, and he pushes them away. But what's also hitting from this is not like long after that, his son is born, and also later on in the movies, in Rise of Skywalker, you can actually hear his voice as one of the Jedi ghosts.
In the heart of a Jedi lies her strength.
So it hits hard during the moment, but there's also a legacy that passes on from Kanan after that as well. So yeah, a good moment. Coming in at number 4 is just a little one, but when you see Maul at the end of Solo.
190 years old? You look great.
So his moment then confirms, obviously he's a huge crime lord, right, of Crimson Dawn.
Bring the ship and come to me on Dathomir, and you and I will then decide what to do about the traitor Beckett and his accomplices.
And what's great about that moment is that I think it's like 10 years after episode 1, so it means he didn't die, right? And there's a whole story about how Maul then rises to power in obviously the as a crime lord, which is great because we've got that now in the series, haven't we? Of Shadow Lord, which if you haven't watched yet, you need to go see that. That's really, really good. At number 3, I've got a bit of a 2 for 1 here.
Rogue One.
Rogue One?
And it's the Rogue One battle on Scarif, leading to Darth Vader and his scene in like the hallway. Epic. And I think why this hits so hard is because of that then rolls on to the first scene of A New Hope. But the breakdown of the Scarif battle is massive because you've got the infiltration of the planet, and you've got obviously stealing the Death Star plans that's happening on the ground.
You okay?
While then there's a huge rebel diversion going on, and that crazy battle that's going along on the shorelines all around the tower. You then have the battle that's happening in space. There's like a stalemate between like the Imperial forces and the rebels until a destroyer gets like pushed into the barriers, and both are destroyed. Meaning that the signal can be sent from the tower out for the Death Star plans.
Transmission received.
Admiral, we have the plans!
But then just as they're downloading, what should turn up? The Death Star. And then Vader's ship turns up. And then the Death Star like shoots down on the planet. Destroys obviously the tower and everything below, taking out all of the forces and everyone on the planet at the tower, and then because the plans were sent up, you've then got Vader and his ship that obviously attaches on, and you've got that whole boarding scene and the lightsaber moment that comes on, the red saber in Darth Vader's like helmet and everything else, the smoke behind him. And he just goes crazy and he starts taking everyone out, and he's like how you all like would love to see Vader taking one out. That's what he does. And it's such a moment, and I love that the end of Rogue One is then the perfect theme to A New Hope, and it just connects it all together. Beautiful moment. Absolutely love it. So my number 2 is final scene between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. Very short, like it's a very short moment, but I think it's great because it brings those two finally. It brings an end to that story. Of when Maul was cut down by Obi-Wan, he had his whole breakdown. He went absolutely crazy. Then he had all the story with his brother and the Night Sisters and that sort of side. But it all comes to an end, and Maul has hunted Obi-Wan down. He's hunted him down to Tatooine, and they're at this this little fire which is just next to Obi-Wan's hidden camp, and Maul is pumped. He's ready to take out Obi-Wan, and he's throwing shade at him, calling him a desert rat. And Obi-Wan, at this point, he is a Jedi master. Like, he is master of the Jedi, and he's just composed, and he's like, yeah, Maul, keep throwing your shade. It's absolutely fine. Whatever. And the duel kicks off, and Obi-Wan, he takes his stance as a young Luke Skywalker, but he's playing mind games with Maul, like 100%, and he shifts to his stance of Qui-Gon. And you can see he then anticipates, because Maul is like, I beat Qui-Gon in episode 1. We had that. Like, I cut him down. And it baits Maul. It baits Maul heavy into that same attack. And Obi-Wan, he anticipates this, and he just he chops Maul's saber in half, and deals a fatal chest blow to Maul. And it's done in such a quick moment. Gone. But in Maul's final moments with Obi-Wan, they share this embrace. And it's such an end to their like personal saga. And Maul is he's like, is it the chosen one? Is he safe?
Tell me, is it the chosen one?
He is.
And in Obi-Wan confirming that he's got the chosen one, he's safe, Maul then he passes away in peace, basically, knowing that the Sith are going to be taken down, like Palpatine's going to be taken out. So that moment, even though it's extremely short, there's a lot happening in a very short space of time, but a great moment, and I think it definitely deserves a number 2 spot. But number one, so my number one moment, number one, has to be the final scene in the Clone Wars with Ahsoka, and she stood in front of the funeral, the memorial of all the clones that her and Rex have just they've just given them all a personal burial. It hits hard, like it hits. But the reason why I think that scene so special is that not long before, all of the 332nd, they painted their helmets orange in like appreciation and respect for Ahsoka that she'd come back.
Loyalty means everything to the clones.
And in that moment, she's stood in front of all of these graves, and that's not the saddest. Like, yeah, that's sad, but in that moment, she also drops her lightsabers, the ones that Anakin had given her. So in that moment, she relinquishes her connection to the Jedi, as well as saying goodbye to all of her friends, and it signifies the end of that Jedi journey for her, connected to the Jedi. But it doesn't just end there. You then have the follow up. Like later on, Vader then comes to the crash site, and in a completely chilling and silent moment, he's there in front of the graveyard, and he sifts through the snow, finds the lightsabers that Ahsoka dropped, and zoom. The light shines on his helmet, and the history of Ahsoka as apprentice, and all of those moments as Anakin and Ahsoka flood back. So it just compounds, and it's such an end to a powerful series, such an end to their relationship as master and apprentice, and it just hits different. But a bonus, I'm going to do a bonus one here because I think there's another moment as well between Anakin and Ahsoka, and it's the
Master?
I didn't expect to see you so soon.
when she gets beaten, she gets killed, she ends up in the world between worlds, like the Light Force world, whatever you want to call it, and you just hear it in the background. What a moment. And I think why that's so great is because of like the very first Clone Wars, the movie. Snips is like the endearing term that Anakin gives to Ahsoka for all of her snippy comebacks to all of like his orders and things like that.
There's been a mix-up. The youngling isn't with me.
Stop calling me that. You're stuck with me, Sky Guy.
What did you just call me? Don't get snippy with me, little one.
So it's such a great moment when all of that comes back to them finally meeting each other again, and that little hello Snips at the end of that clip, just before he then does the live or die sequence, and he's basically teaching her a final lesson.
What's the lesson, Master?
Live? Or die?
And to stop worrying about her legacy, basically, she needs to live. She just needs to be who she is. And I think that's a great moment as well. Great moment, and I think it definitely deserves a spot, and a bonus. But yeah, so 6 in the end. Hard-hitting moments for me in Star Wars. Love to know yours, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this list as well. But thank you very much, all who lasted the list. I'll do some more coming up. But yeah, thank you very much for your time. Have a great rest of your bank holiday if you're in the UK. I'm enjoying the sun. But yeah, thanks very much.